What would you do if life stripped everything away from you? Your money, your food, your pride, until all you had left was a dream. What if that dream cost you your home, your dignity, even your best friend? Would you sell it to survive? Or would you hold the line, even if it meant starving? This is the story of Sylvester Stallone, not the Hollywood icon, not the millionaire action star, not the red carpet king, but the man who once slept in a New York bus station, broken, clutching a script that no one wanted to read, until one day the world didn't just read it, it stood and cheered. Let's go back to where it all began. This is what it means to refuse to sell your dream before the money, before the fame, before the movie posters, the action figures, the speeches. Sylvester Stallone was just another guy in New York, chasing a dream that no one else could see. He was born in Hell's Kitchen, New York City, into chaos. His birth left him with nerve damage, paralyzing part of his face, and giving him that now iconic slur and crooked smile. But back then, it wasn't iconic. It was a problem. He was bullied for it, mocked, dismissed. Even as a kid, he carried rejection like a shadow. He wanted to act, but teachers said, with that face, that voice, pick something else. And maybe he should have. Maybe it would have been easier to just give up. But Stallone had one thing no one could measure: a raw, stubborn fire. Not talent, not polish, just fire. As he got older, the dream got louder, but the world got colder. He moved to New York, chasing auditions. But every door slammed shut. Every casting agent gave the same look. Thanks, but no thanks. He was running out of options. He worked odd jobs, cleaning lion cages at the zoo, ushering in movie theaters, even selling off his wife's jewelry just to eat. He was flat broke, clinging to hope with bleeding fingers. Then came the eviction notice. No money, no friends, no food. He found himself sleeping in a bus terminal for 3 weeks. Not a night or two, 3 weeks. He'd stuff newspapers in his clothes to keep warm. He'd pretend to be asleep when security walked by, hoping not to get kicked out. Ever spent the night at a Greyhound station? It's not exactly 5-star. Unless you're 5 stars of frostbite, flickering lights, and the sweet smell of sadness. But in that loneliness, something was forming, something dangerous, a refusal to break. There was one companion who stuck with him through it all. His dog, Butkus, a huge, loving bull mastiff with a face just as rough as his owner's. They'd sit on park benches together. One broke man, one loyal dog, and somehow that made the world a little more bearable. But one day, even that bond had to be broken. He couldn't afford food for himself, let alone for Butkus. So Stallone stood outside a liquor store, trembling, ashamed, and asked strangers if they wanted to buy his dog. Eventually, one man agreed. $40. That's what Stallone got. $40 to betray his best friend. He said it was the lowest moment of his life. Not the bus station, not the rejection, but the day he had to let go of the one soul that still believed in him. Think about that. What would you do if you had to sell the last piece of love in your life, just to survive another week? He went home that night and cried, not just for the dog, but for the man he was becoming. That night could have been the end of his story, but it wasn't, because that same week, he saw something that shook him to his core. He turned on the TV and saw a boxing match, Muhammad Ali versus Chuck Wepner. Everyone expected a quick knockout. Wepner was just a punching bag, a nobody. But round after round, Wepner took the hits. He got up and kept getting up. Round 6, he was still standing. Round 9, bleeding but standing. Round 15, still fighting. And Stallone, sitting in his cold little apartment, leaned forward. He wasn't watching a fight. He was watching himself. Wepner wasn't just a boxer. He was a mirror. "That's me," Stallone whispered. "That's my story." And then something clicked. He grabbed a pen, a legal pad, and locked himself in that apartment. For 3 straight days, he didn't leave. He didn't sleep much. Didn't eat. He just wrote. 72 hours later, he emerged, half-starved, eyes bloodshot, hands aching. In his hands was a script, the story of Rocky Balboa. A nobody from Philly, a street fighter, a long shot, a man no one believed in except himself. Sound familiar? You see, this is where most people stop. They have an idea, a flash of genius, a script, a business plan, a dream, and then they wait for someone to validate it. But not Stallone. He knew it wasn't perfect. He knew people would laugh. He knew they'd say, "Who do you think you are?" But he didn't write for them. He wrote for the 12-year-old version of himself who got beat up at school. He wrote for every actor who was told, "You're not good enough." He wrote for the guy who had to sell his dog just to survive. It's not about talent, he'd say later. It's about heart. And when you've got nothing left, but you still keep showing up, that's when the universe starts listening. When was the last time you created something just because you had to? Not for likes, not for followers, not for validation, but because your soul wouldn't let you keep it inside anymore? That's what Stallone did, and that's where his real fight began. But writing the story was just round one. What came next? Hundreds of rejections, heartbreaking offers, one massive test of character. Coming up in Act 2, how Stallone turned down a fortune just to stay true to his dream. Don't go anywhere, because this is where most people would have sold out. But he didn't. He started pitching the script to every producer and studio in town, one after another. "Nice script. We'll buy it, but you won't play Rocky." "Why?" "Your face is too weird. Your voice is too slurred. You're not a star." They offered $125,000 for the script. That's over $600,000 in today's money. For a man living in poverty, sleeping in bus stations, and eating scraps, this was everything. He said, "No deal unless I star in it." They came back. $250,000. Still no. $350,000. Still no. At this point, even his imaginary accountant was sweating. People thought he was insane. Even his family questioned his sanity. But Stallone wasn't just selling a script. He was selling a message, a piece of his soul. And if he wasn't Rocky, it wasn't real. I knew if I gave it away, I'd be just another failed actor with a story no one would hear. Finally, a small studio caved. They said, "Fine, you can star, but we'll only pay you $35,000. That's 10% of what he was offered before. He said yes immediately. And the first thing he did, he tracked down the man who bought Butkus and begged to buy his dog back. The man charged him $15,000 and a role in the movie. He paid it. Happily. The movie was made on a shoestring budget. Stallone filmed it fast with low expectations. Nobody expected it to work until it hit the theaters. And then something magical happened. People didn't just watch Rocky. They saw themselves in it. The pain, the struggle, the rejection, the getting up again and again and again. Rocky made $225 million. It won 3 Oscars. It changed cinema forever. Okay, so why does this matter? Because you might be there right now. You might be doubting yourself, watching others succeed while you struggle, wondering if your dream is even worth it anymore. You might be thinking, "I don't have the money, the talent, the look. No one's given me a shot. I've been rejected too many times." So was he. But here's the truth Stallone teaches us. It's not about how many people say yes. It's about how hard you fight when everyone says no. You don't need everyone to believe in your dream. You need one yes. But you'll never get there if you sell out early. If Stallone had taken the $350,000 and walked away, he'd be just another ghostwriter in Hollywood, a name in the credits. Instead, he became a legend. He turned pain into purpose, struggle into strength, and a rejected script into a $200 million empire. Here's the real question. What dream are you walking away from too soon? Because one of two things is happening right now. You're either holding the line on your vision, or you're selling pieces of it just to feel safe. But what if your breakthrough is behind just one more rejection? One more no away? One more lonely night? One more painful decision? One more risk? Today, Stallone's worth over $400 million. But that's not the real win. The real win is that millions of people watched Rocky and decided not to give up. They saw a man get knocked down and get up anyway, bleeding, broken, but not beaten. And they said, if he can fight, maybe I can too. That's legacy. That's power. And that's the reward for never selling your soul just to pay the bills. You don't need perfection. You don't need approval. You just need fire and the courage to hold the line. If this story moved you, wait until you hear this. Khalil Rafati was a homeless addict, sleeping on Skid Row, and today he's a multimillionaire, helping thousands transform their lives. It's gritty, it's raw, and it's proof that rock bottom isn't the end. It's the beginning. Backhand index pointing right, watch next. From Skid Row to millionaire, the Khalil Rafati story, motivational transformation. Because your lowest moment might be your launch pad